Hey, welcome back to Beyond the Gate, our Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Meg.
And today we're covering episode 46, Looming Shadows.
Yes, in this episode, those who prepared to reclaim a nation find their plans exposed. The chaos multiplies after an assassin strikes down a mighty leader in broad daylight, and Alphonse falls prey to monsters in the dark.
And this covers manga chapters 84, Shadow of the Pursuer, and 85, The Empty Box.
Yes. Alright. And this is a special episode because we are together in person.
For the first time since starting this thing.
Yes. Okay. Not that special, I guess.
Well, it is. And also we may sound different, just a disclaimer, because we're actually visiting my hometown and my dad lent us his very nice microphone. So hopefully it sounds better, I hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would be surprised if it didn't. Alright, let's just get into this episode. It starts out with actually a passage of time. A lot of time passes. The narrator says the new year all the way to this, like, the story starts in the spring. So I would say it's a good
half a year.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, like, what time of year it was.
Because in the last episode, Ed did say something like, I'm not going to see my brother Winry for a long time. So, I mean, like, we don't get to see what the characters were up to in the meantime, but we knew they were going to have, like, a passage of time before everybody meets up again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So then we're in the springtime, and Miles and some of the northern soldiers, they are at a train stop in Resembool, and they are unloading a bunch of tanks, and you kind of get the sense something is a little bit off, and we find out that we see them bring one to the Rock Bells, and Winry is inside. They've snuck her back to her home. And I don't know, and she, like, pops out immediately. I'm like, oh wow, she looks like...
She's beautiful.
Yeah.
She's so mature.
Yeah, she looks so much older. She is, like, glad to be home, and she goes to her bedroom and gets out new clothes, because she's, hasn't had new clothes and her own clothes for a long time. And she starts to change, but she glances over, and we see Ed. He is mid-bite of sandwich, and his mouth is just...
His face is so perfect.
Yes, and then she screams.
Yeah, in the manga, actually, both of them scream. And also, in the beginning of the chapter, when Winry first arrives at her house, you can see somebody in the window, and I was guessing it was probably Ed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, like, the most iconic scene. I had watched the scene even before we started Brotherhood.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. And so the soldiers from the north, they hear Winry, and they rush up, and then the chimeras come in, and then Den and Girdling come in behind them, and it's like a standoff. Like, the soldiers pull their guns, and the dogs are barking, and it's just crazy, and they're like, what are you doing here? And
I love in the manga, it's really cute, because, like, when Winry's comrades rush in, they're like, are you okay, ma'am? And, like, when Ed's comrades rush in, they're like, you okay, kid? They're, like, so concerned for each other.
Yeah, so cute. And yeah, there's this kind of standoff, and then Winry's like, Ed, what's going on? And Ed is kind of sassy, and she's like, shut up, like, stop.
Don't be a smart aleck.
Yeah. And then Winry, being Winry, she kicks everyone out, and, like, literally kicks them out. And she
I think
she pulls out
a wrench or something. But you noticed that Ling was, like, cross-legged or something
totally,
when he flies away.
Yeah, he just had his arm crossed, and he's just, like, flying through the air like he doesn't care. And then she kicks everyone out except for Ed, which is honestly a new thing, because she's always the one he's always the one that she beats up first. And then, I don't know, it was really cute after this, because they both were like, I'm glad to see you, and I was so worried about you, and I'm glad you're okay, and
yeah.
It was adorable.
Yeah. Also, cute moment in the manga, when, like, everybody's fighting and arguing in Winry's room, Ed's just calmly standing there munching on a sandwich, and he finishes it.
He's like, just a normal Monday.
Like, I'm hungry.
Yep. It's a growing boy.
Yeah. Al needs those calories.
Yes. And then that's when we learn that Winry tells Ed that Al is actually at the train station right now, and Ed starts to go to see him, but then he's like, I can't actually go see him because I'm a fugitive. I'm on the run. Yeah. And it's so sad because it's been so long. And
he desperately wants to see his little brother,
yeah.
but he knows it's a bad idea.
Yep, and this is when we get to see Granny again, and I the thing that I noticed about this scene is she comes in and you see all the guys piled up outside. They're out. Then Winry finally meets Greenling for the first time, and she is very confused, which I didn't even think about that. She hadn't actually seen him and didn't really know what had happened.
She just knows Ling because she's like, oh, and she doesn't even know Ling that well, but she's like, you're Ling, right? And they have this weird moment where Greenling's like, oh, you mean him? Yeah, well, I'm Greed, but here's what happened, and Ed has to fill in the gaps, and Winry's just kind of processing that.
Yes. So she catches up with everyone, but then she is fixing Ed's automail. That's why we learned this is why they came to Resembool, so that he could get a tune-up and, get ready for the promised day. And Winry's telling him about the plan in the east to kind of start the attack, I guess. Mm-hmm. And she also tells Ed that his father is in Kanoma or something like that.
Yeah.
And that he needs to go see him and learn all the information that we already know.
Yeah, that's right. Winry got to talk to him before Ed got the whole story. She at this point knows more than he does.
Yeah. And then Ed tells her to leave the country, take Granny and Den and get out. Just kind of, basically what Olivier did with her family.
Yeah, or what Hohenheim said to Pinocchio a long time ago.
Yeah, but Winry, classic, she gets very mad, I'm not leaving, and she tells him to protect the country first and then get their bodies back.
Yeah. They have a standoff.
Yes, they have a standoff, and this is when you see that Ed is taller than her. It is so...
Not only that, but Ed got kind of ripped.
Yeah, he did. He was always kind of
strong,
ripped, but he's just, his body's just maturing.
And he's bulked up a little bit.
Yeah.
Winry's shoulders are wider too, but his hair is also extremely long now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was like... when I watched this for the first time, I was like, oh, if I had been 15, 16 or whatever, I had the biggest crush on him.
There is a post, I think I saw on Pinterest, where somebody made the comment, Ed's probably one of those guys who the young girls in his town fawn over, and he doesn't really realize. Just imagine it. He's this person who's trying to save the country, and then when he comes back home, he's got this golden hair, and... when he's not angry, he's a polite, down-to-earth country boy. Mm-hmm. So, of course, girls would be kind of fawning over him.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he was quite the catch, but they were all too late.
Yeah, sorry. Winry's got him. Yep. But I love how Ed says, take Granny and Den. It's so cute how the dog is such a big part of their family. Because Arakawa loves dogs, so she incorporates them into the story wherever she can. Yeah. It's so cute. And in the manga, Ed ends his and Winry's argument with, blah, 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 you talk too much.
Okay, Ed. And then, as Ed kind of, I wouldn't necessarily storms off, but kind of a little bit.
It's a little immature about it.
Yeah, Greed is, outside listening, and I don't remember how the conversation actually begins because I wasn't listening. But he's basically telling Ed that it's okay to go after what he wants, and greed is not all bad because everyone wants something, and the things that you want aren't always bad. And Ed, he disagrees kind of because he's like, well, look, I wanted my mom back, and look what happened. I'm in this mess because of greed, I guess.
And pride, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think both of them are the extremes of the conversation, and they both have valid points, and they both have things that they probably are wrong about, too. But they've both been in situations where they've had to take their stance and just, like, stay on that side of the fence. Like, Ed had a really horrible experience where he let greed get away from him and suffered the consequences. And then greed is somebody who his wanting allies, wanting to protect them, like, maybe he feels like not being greedy enough led to his friends getting killed the first time around. Like, him not fighting hard enough for what he wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting conversation. But then Ed and Greedling and the Chimeras, they're leaving, and Ed makes a promise to Winry that he's gonna fix things and come back in one piece and to have an apple pie ready for them. And yeah, as far as I remember, they don't see each other again till
after it's all over, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad they had this moment.
Yeah, it was good. Then we go to Lior, and this is when we kind of see everybody else start to make their moves. First in Lior, Yoki and the Chimeras are still there, and we learn they're waiting to meet up with Marco and Scar, who then arrive, and they're heading to Central. And while they're on the road there, they meet up with other Ishvalans, and they're gonna join them too. And then we go to like the eastern, I don't know, military base, and the East North Army they're training together, and
it's like a mock battle.
Yeah, and this is when we learn Bradley is watching over the training. And Miles and Grumman are there, and we kind of see that they have a plan, but because Bradley's there, like, they can't really carry it out yet. And then Al, he is at the train station. He's in the east with everybody, but he's hiding. And he keeps seeing his body, and he's kind of like going in and out of consciousness. And while he's at the train tracks, he notices some drool. Megan hates that. I do too, but then we see Gluttony. He's back. We haven't seen him since he died.
Reincarnated with Father.
Yeah. And Pride is there too, and Al is like struggling to stay conscious, and he passes out and gets captured. So
that poor kid.
Yeah. And nobody knows. And then we see Olivier and Roy. They're meeting up at Olivier's house.
Her mansion.
Yeah, her mansion. And Roy's like, yeah, almost ready. I almost have time to take you to dinner. I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but
no, he's making a pass at her, but I feel like it's all just a pretense to get close to her and pass information.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
Yeah, but Olivier, I know in the manga they had like a little bit longer of a scene for this because she's in her mansion and all the servants are kind of talking about like, wow, she kicked out her family. What a shame. She must be so lonely. And I think to a certain extent she is, but that's just because she's got more information than anybody else about what's happening with the country. So when Roy comes over, it's like one more ally that knows almost as much as she does.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then we also learn that if she dies, she's gonna leave her mansion to him because she'd rather leave it to him than to Alex.
Like, I tolerate you just a bit more than my brother.
Yeah, right. She's kind of mean to Alex. Like, I mean, she just calls him a coward, which like I do. Like, you understand that, because he did abandon his, He
didn't stand up for his beliefs, and then he kind of, like, abandoned his post, but...
Yeah.
I think he's just a good guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, her reasons for being hard on him might be more of, like, if I distance myself from my family, then the enemy can't use them against me.
I could see that.
Yeah. That's just a theory.
And then Roy gives her a bouquet of hyacinths, and there's a message inside letting her know that Salim is a homunculus. And then he does a very Roy thing. He's like, hyacinths represent ladylike charm, and Olivia's furious at him. And it's super funny. She throws the flowers in the fire and then calls him a little punk.
That was actually really smart though, because like the flowers had the message inside of them. Mm-hmm. He gave her a reason to get angry so she could throw them in the fire.
Yeah,
so
like
boom,
everything.
Gone.
Yeah, everything is like a game, part of the plan, really. But it works. And I guess, I don't know, we can bring this up now.
Yeah.
That, like, it's... Give me one second, I'm gonna, like, find the post.
Want me to leave that in?
Please don't.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep. Yeah, so what we wanted to mention, like, when she calls him a little punk, Mustang is like 10 years younger than everybody else, like in the upper ranks. Like if you notice, there's like quite a few scenes where like other people call him a little punk. Like the Fuhrer calls him a punk, and
is that the doctor? Dr. Knox.
Yeah. And there's we saw a post where it's like talking about this, and they're like, that's why he hired Ed, because he's like 15 years younger than him, so now there's someone even younger and more annoying than he is.
He can take more of the heat than Roy. But I feel like Ed just gets away scot-free because he's sort of a free agent. Like, I'm a state alchemist who travels for a living to research, so he's not, like, climbing the ranks of the military at all, and he couldn't care less.
Didn't exactly work in his favor.
Because Roy has big ambitions to climb the ranks, but Ed's just kind of there.
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny thing to notice that, like, everybody's, like, just frustrated with him, because it's like, how did, you're so young, and you're... have so much power. Yeah. Right. Anyway, then kind of the last thing, we go back to the training in the east, and we learn that the promised day is tomorrow. And Grumman is very frustrated because he can't carry out the plan because of Bradley. And then this is when we go up to Bradley, and we learn that he knows, he has learned of their whole plan. He's learned that they're gonna put on a revolt in the east, and then the Ishvalans are gonna attack Central, and then Grumman is gonna meet up with Roy, and they're gonna pretend to like protect the city from the Ishvalans, but they're actually gonna be staging a mutiny. So he basically knows their whole plan now, but
I'll be honest, I got kind of lost when they were explaining all that. I was just like, what's the plan?
Yeah, it makes sense when you watch it, but
but it's like, well, it's so confusing, and that's not even what really goes down in the end as we go further. Yeah.
And then Bradley's like, oh shoot, gotta go back to Central to take care of this. And while he's on his way back, on train, the train stops, and there's like some sheep crossing, and then the train keeps moving forward, but his car gets disconnected and left behind on, like, the ravine that they're in.
Classic.
And, yes, like, oh, shoot, this is it. And Grumman's men blow up the train car above the ravine. Which
is more effective than most heroes going against the villain, because normally we're like, let's take the moral high ground and bring them into jail, and they're like, nope. This is an actual homunculus monster. We're blowing him sky high.
Yeah, Grumman's like, nope, I'm getting rid of this guy. It was pretty, honestly, like...
It was like a, whoa
Yeah, moment. I didn't actually see that coming.
No.
I didn't, like, we didn't think he actually died.
Oh, for
he
sure
was a homunculus, so, like, he's probably fine.
He can survive quite a bit.
But it was a valiant effort.
Yeah.
And then we see, I was very happy to see this. We
Yes.
saw Riza and Bright Eye Fear getting ready for the promise day.
Putting on their gear, looking all cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I
You're
love
like, oh
them
yeah,
so
stuff's
much.
about to go down.
I love that crew. We need to see more of them.
Oh, we will. And then there's like a little end credit scene where the leaders of the military are like freaking out because Bradley might be dead. And Olivier's there and she's like, this is my chance to take control. But then Father and Sloth arrive and they're like, we're in charge now.
Yeah. I like how Olivier, before, she's like, I can take control because these guys are pathetic. As soon as their leader dies, they go to pieces. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And that was the episode.
Yeah. So we did have one voice actor note. So, a while ago, we covered one of the soldiers from Briggs whose name was Liam. The guy who was with Liam, his name is Mick Murray, which I thought that was awesome. They actually gave these randos a name. And that's a pretty nice name. He's played by Greg Dulce. Dulce? Sorry, Greg.
Dulcier.
Yeah. Greg Dulce, who plays Chimera from My Hero Academia. He's also additional voices in both Attack on Titan and Black Clover. His first name, Mick, is of English origin, meaning who is like God, and his last name, Murray, is also of English origin, meaning from the sea town. Who is like God from the sea town.
I was thinking the same thing. Interesting.
And then,
oh, yes.
Besides the theory of Roy, hiring Ed to the military to look older, I don't know. We also had another theory about the reason Ed might be growing taller. And Meg said it's probably because he has the lighter automail now, because they mentioned that his heavy automail might have been stunting his growth. And then I thought it might be because Al's body is starting to deteriorate more, so all of the nutrients and stuff are going to Ed's body to help him grow faster.
Yeah, and also 6 months have passed too.
And 6 months, and he's a teenager, so he's gonna grow like a weed.
Yes.
But also, keep being short. We need Al. We need Al to be okay. Nutrients. But I'm sure everything will be fine, not that I know what happens. And Ed's height, he's officially taller than Winry, and by quite a bit, too, a couple inches. And, I mean, his hair antenna adds a little bit, but...
Nah, he's
definitely taller.
Yeah.
And as far as animation expertise, this is more of a character design thing, but Mustang looks a lot younger in this episode to me. I'm not sure if you noticed that. It could be because his face looked more joyful, so it looked more youthful, because when he's talking to Olivier, he kind of has this dopey grin on his face. And he's not scowling like usual, and he's pulling a lot of Edward faces,
Yeah, I think, for me, when I see him, go into that mode, that's his, spy mode. I'm on a mission.
I'm undercover.
And, yeah.
Kind of his goofy kid mode is, his no one's gonna suspect I'm actually really smart kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, and it also could be because he's standing next to an older woman in the military. It's yes, I am a child compared to you.
Yes. Alright, and then another thing we wanted to talk just briefly about was what Greed said to Ed, and I'll read what his quote was. Greed may not be good, but it's not so bad either. Everyone wants something that they don't have.
Which is true. And that made me think of a quote from Attack on Titan. The character Kenny said, everybody's drunk on something. And his philosophy was basically, the world can be hard, so everybody has something they turn to for, comfort or to help get them through. And it could be, family, it could be, actual, getting drunk kind of drink. It could be your spouse, something, or a dream. So I think, to a certain extent, that is true. What do you put your hope in when you've lost your way, kind of thing. And greed can be good if you are doing it for someone else, I think. Like we've said before, if you're looking out for someone else and you want something so desperately for them. Because I would say Ed is greedy to get Al's body back. But you don't want to take that too far, otherwise you're going to have a human transmutation moment.
Yeah, I liked that whole conversation. It's it's not yes, it's one of the 7 deadly sins, but like it can be a good thing. Like the same with like pride too.
Yeah.
Like having pride in your work or something you've accomplished is a good thing, but it can also go too far.
Yes.
Like it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then the last thing was a brief story elements analysis. We get a time skip. So a common thing, especially in anime, we catch back up with the characters and get a debriefing on what's happened in the time we've missed, and it's like off screen. And a time skip usually covers a period of time the audience doesn't really need to see, so they can just like verbally catch us up or show a couple of flashback images.
Okay, if you could have seen like one group during that time skip, which one would you have wanted to see?
Well, normally I would say Ed, but I think, he was like in recovery and then like on his way with the chimeras, but he was also with Greedling, so that would be very entertaining. But Winry, that would be kind of cool to see what she was doing too.
I agree. I was gonna go with Ed and Greedling because they haven't seen each other in so long, and like there had to have been like some disagreements.
Oh, for sure.
But would have been entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Megan, what was your favorite line?
Mine came from Ed. I just wanted someplace private to eat my sandwich. He had like a little voice crack at the end of the sentence too. That was perfect. And then what was your favorite?
Mine also came from Ed, like I think almost immediately after when Winry was asking him about what's going on, and he's like, looks like a cautionary tale about guns.
So deadpan.
Yes. And then what did we learn in this episode?
We learned that sometimes a little bit of confidence goes a long way, and that refers to when Winry made Ed tell her that he could save Amestris. She made him promise that he would save the country, basically to say, like, I'm not going to leave, I'm not going to go to safety because I need you to assure me that you can do this, that you can, like, save everybody, and that I'll have a home to come back to, but I'm going to stay right here because I believe in you, but you need to believe in yourself.
Yeah. And then push the story forward.
Grumman for trying to blow up Bradley. I mean, like, I don't think I agree with most of the stuff that Grumman does in this series, but at least he's trying to do something.
Yeah. So good. All right. That is all we have for this episode. Follow us on Instagram at Full Metal Beyond the Gate. You can check out our YouTube channel,
which I'm behind at. I'm sorry, guys. I will get caught up.
You're behind on, but it's surprising because there's like quite a few people that are listening on there.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. My efforts are not in vain.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's
about it.
All right. See